All right, so we've got this really interesting astrological report that someone sent our way,
Oh, cool.
and it's for Leos in March 2025.
Okay.
I have to say, this is like one of the most in-depth and kind of intense horoscopes I've ever come across.
Yeah, it's definitely comprehensive. The astrologer Lorenzo, I mean, he doesn't really shy away from those challenging aspects, the month ahead.
No, he doesn't.
It's kind of a refreshingly direct approach.
That's putting it mildly.
You're right.
He really gets into the nitty-gritty, and it's clear that March 2025 is going to be like a pivotal month for these Leos. So
For sure.
let's just jump right into this thing.
Let's do it.
So the report, it starts with a week-by-week breakdown.
Okay.
And it sets a dramatic tone, like right from the get-go.
Oh, yeah, definitely the first week,
Yeah.
March 1st to the 10th, seems to be all about confronting the past.
Oh, wow.
Lorenzo is suggesting that comfort zones will be shattered and old wounds may resurface. Yeah, and he even goes as far as to say that secrets and emotional baggage will come to light.
Whoa.
And urging these Leos to take responsibility for their past actions.
That's a lot to unpack in the first week.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy stuff right off the
Yeah,
bat.
for sure.
But, I think it sets the stage for like a real period of introspection and transformation.
For sure.
And that theme really continues into that second week, March 11th to the 20th.
Okay.
He even calls this period a truth bomb moment.
Wow.
He's suggesting that Leo's belief systems, whether it's related to their personal values, their relationships, or even their overall life direction, will be challenged.
Like completely upended, basically.
Yeah, and denial, he warns, is not an option.
Oh, wow.
This is a time for Leos to face reality head-on and just be open to those radical shifts in perspective.
Sounds like March is going to be a real roller coaster for these Leos.
It really does.
And the last week of the month?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it's going to offer much respite.
Not exactly.
No.
From March 21st to the 31st, he's predicting major decisions and consequences.
Oh, wow.
Describing it as a time of breakthrough or breakdown.
That's intense.
Yeah, it is for Leos, urging them to step into their power or risk being overshadowed.
So it's all about making bold choices and taking action, it sounds like.
Precisely, there's a real sense of urgency in this last week of March.
Wow.
It's a time for these Leos to either rise to the occasion or potentially watch those dreams just slip away.
That is a stark assessment. I mean, I have to say, though, Lorenzo's directness is kind of refreshing.
I agree.
He's not sugarcoating anything. It's almost like he's giving these Leos like a cosmic wake-up call.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. He's
Yeah.
not just predicting events.
Right.
He's also offering guidance and urging them to take control of their destinies.
Okay, so based on this week-by-week breakdown, it seems like March is all about facing these challenges, making really tough decisions, and ultimately transforming yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a good summation. And now we need to kind of delve into some of the specific astrological influences that are going to be shaping this intense month for Leos.
Okay, yeah, let's get into the astrology of it.
Yeah, so Lorenzo's highlighting a number of planetary transits that are particularly relevant for these Leos.
All right, and we've got the breakdown of those transits right here. It's quite a list.
It is.
And some of these placements sound pretty intense.
They certainly do. Let's start with Venus retrograde,
Okay.
which begins on March 2nd in Aries and then moves back into Pisces on March 28th.
Okay.
This retrograde period is likely to bring up some relationship challenges for these Leos.
So what kind of challenges are we talking about here?
Well, Venus retrograde often brings up past issues,
Okay.
forcing us to reevaluate our values and relationships.
Right.
And for Leos, this could manifest as conflicts with their loved ones,
Okay.
a need to redefine romantic commitments, or even the resurfacing of old heartbreaks.
Oof. Sounds messy.
It can be.
Is there anything else these Leos should be aware of?
Well, Lorenzo is also pointing to Pluto in Aquarius, which is impacting Leo's 7th house of partnerships throughout the month.
Okay.
And Pluto represents transformation and power dynamics.
Oh, boy.
So this transit could bring about some significant changes in the way Leos approach their relationships.
Does that mean breakups are, like, inevitable?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but it does suggest a period of intense scrutiny and potential upheaval in these partnerships.
Right.
Leos may find themselves questioning the very foundations of their relationships,
Wow.
particularly in terms of those power dynamics and their shared values.
So Venus retrograde and Pluto in Aquarius are definitely shaking things up in the love department.
Definitely.
What other astrological influences are we looking at here?
So Lilith is another key player.
Okay.
Lorenzo notes that Lilith is in Libra, Leo's 3rd house of communication and self-expression,
Oh, interesting.
until March 28th when it moves into Scorpio, their 4th house of home and family.
Okay.
This transit could bring about challenges related to communication.
Right.
Boundaries and emotional security.
So Leos might be feeling a little more sensitive and vulnerable during this time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And they may also find themselves confronting difficult emotions or power struggles within their closest relationships.
Oof, that's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
And the fourth house represents our foundations, so Lilith's transit here could also stir up issues related to family, home, and even early childhood experiences.
So March is going to be a very emotionally charged month for these Leos, and we're really just scratching the surface here.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Of all the astrological influences at play,
Absolutely. We still need to discuss the impact of Mercury retrograde,
oh boy, here we go.
which begins on March 15th in Aries,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the significance of the total lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th and the new moon plus partial solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th.
Wow, that is a mouthful.
It is, and
I'm,
these events are likely to bring about some major turning points for these Leos.
I can only imagine. I mean, this report is intense.
It is. It really is.
It's intense.
Lorenzo doesn't shy away from that outer side of astrology.
No, he does not.
And his predictions for Leos in March are full of challenges and potential upheavals.
Yeah.
It's not your typical, feel-good horoscope.
It's not a horoscope you read with your morning coffee.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But there's also a sense of empowerment in his words.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like he's not just telling them what's going to happen,
Mhm.
but he's urging them to take ownership of their experiences
Right.
and use these challenges as opportunities for growth.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all this intense energy.
Right.
But he's really framing it as a process of transformation.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
He seems to believe that these Leos have the strength and the courage to navigate these, turbulent waters and emerge stronger on the other side.
Okay, so how should Leos approach this month, knowing that they're in for a wild ride?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
I think the key is to stay grounded,
Okay.
practice self-care,
Right.
and to be open to those lessons that are presented.
Right. That's important.
Yeah, this is not a time for denial or avoidance.
No.
Leos need to face their shadows head on and embrace that transformative power of this month.
That sounds like some really good advice.
Thank you.
So now let's get into those specific astrological events that Lorenzo highlights.
Okay.
Starting with Mercury retrograde.
Let's do it. So Mercury retrograde, right? It's often associated with communication mishaps, travel delays, all those technological glitches.
Oh, yeah. Classic Mercury retrograde.
But, it's also a time for reflection
Okay.
and revisiting the past.
Interesting.
So with Mercury retrograde happening in Aries, Leo's 9th house of expansion, higher learning and adventure,
Right.
what kind of impact can these Leos expect to see in these areas of their lives?
That's a good question.
Well, Lorenzo suggests that Leos may experience delays or setbacks in their travel plans, their educational pursuits, or even any projects related to publishing, broadcasting, or legal matters.
So probably not a good time to book that spontaneous trip to Europe
Probably not.
or sign any major contract.
I would say not.
Right.
But on a more introspective level, Mercury retrograde and Aries can also be a time for these Leos to kind of revisit their beliefs, their philosophies, and their long-term goals.
So maybe use this time to reflect on what truly matters to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a time for reassessment and recalibration,
Okay.
rather than just rushing ahead with those new ventures.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mercury retrograde, a period of potential chaos, but also an opportunity for reflection.
Right.
Now let's talk about this total lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th.
Okay.
Lorenzo calls this a pivotal moment for these Leos.
Absolutely. Lunar eclipses are often seen as times of culmination and release.
Okay.
They can bring hidden things to light and force us to confront our shadow selves.
That sounds intense.
It can be.
Yeah.
And with this eclipse happening in Virgo, Leo's 6th house of health, work, and those daily routines,
Right.
what kind of impact can we expect to see on these areas?
Good question.
Well, Lorenzo suggests that this eclipse could bring up issues related to health and well-being,
Okay.
work-life balance, and even just the need for order and efficiency in their daily lives.
So Leos might be feeling the pressure to, get their lives in order,
Yeah,
both physically and mentally.
absolutely. And this eclipse could also bring about this realization that something needs to change in their daily routine
Right.
or their work environment.
Is it a wake-up call?
Yeah, for sure. It's a time for letting go of those unhealthy habits
Mhm.
and making choices that support their overall well-being.
So this sounds like a time for some serious self-reflection and maybe even a lifestyle overhaul for these Leos.
It does, and, it certainly has that potential. And
Right.
remember, eclipses can be emotionally intense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's really important for these Leos to just be gentle with themselves during this time.
Yeah, good advice. Okay, so we've got Mercury retrograde, we've got a lunar eclipse in Virgo.
We do.
Lorenzo also highlights this new moon plus partial solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th as a significant event.
Right. So new moons are typically a time for new beginnings
Okay.
and setting intentions. And with this one happening in conjunction with a solar eclipse in Aries,
Right.
Leo's ninth house, it amplifies that energy of expansion,
Oh, okay.
adventure, and even higher learning.
So it sounds like this is a really powerful time for these Leos to manifest their dreams
Exactly.
and set bold new goals.
It is. It's a time to embrace those new horizons and just step outside of their comfort zones.
Sounds exciting, but also a bit daunting.
Yeah.
Given everything else that's happening this month.
Absolutely. But, remember, Leos are known for their courage.
Right.
And their ability to really rise to the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
This eclipse could be like a catalyst for them to achieve great things.
Wow.
As long as they're willing to embrace the unknown
Right.
and just take risks.
So we've covered those major astrological events that Lorenzo highlights in his report.
We have.
But, I'm curious, he mentions all these specific planetary placements.
He does.
The Sun, Venus, Pluto, Lilith, Mercury, Uranus, Jupiter, Mars, Neptune, and Saturn.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And how they're influencing different areas of a Leo's life.
Right.
Can we break that down a bit more?
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating how Lorenzo connects these houses to these specific planetary transits and their direct impact on a Leo's life in March 2025.
So which house stood out to you the most from an astrological perspective?
I would say those 8th house activations in early March are particularly intriguing.
Okay.
Lorenzo suggests it's all about power struggles,
Mm-hmm.
financial tension, and just carrying that heavy emotional weight.
That definitely aligns with the overall theme of transformation and letting go.
It does.
Right.
Exactly. It's like the 8th house is where these Leos will be forced to confront their deepest fears and insecurities and ultimately to transform themselves from the inside out.
Okay.
And then as that month progresses, Lorenzo talks about Venus and Mercury retrograde and that lunar eclipse in the 2nd house, all kind of happening mid-March.
Yeah.
And he's suggesting that this period is all about redefining priorities,
Right.
dealing with money concerns, and even seeking clarity in their relationship.
Sounds intense.
It does have that potential, but, remember, with every challenge,
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for growth.
Right. There's always a silver lining.
Exactly.
Okay. And then finally, we have the Sun entering Aries and that solar eclipse in the 9th house happening towards the end of March.
Right. And Lorenzo describes this as a time of massive mindset shifts,
Wow.
breaking free from those limitations and creating a new vision for the future.
Okay.
It's like a culmination of all the inner work these Leos have been doing throughout the month.
So from the depths of the 8th house to the expansive energy of the 9th house, March 2025 sounds like a real journey of self-discovery and transformation for Leos.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Lorenzo's work so compelling.
I agree.
He doesn't just predict these events,
Right.
but he also offers a roadmap for personal growth.
And he doesn't sugarcoat the process.
Not at all.
He's honest about the challenges, the pain, and the potential for setbacks.
Yeah. But he also reminds us that we have the power to choose how we respond to these challenges.
Right.
We can either let them break us or use them to become stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true selves.
And I think that's a really powerful message for these Leos and really for all of us as we navigate the complexities of life.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've dived deep into Lorenzo's March 2025 horoscope for these Leos, exploring the weekly breakdown, the major themes, the astrological influences, and even some practical advice for navigating the month ahead.
Absolutely. We've also discussed Lorenzo's unique approach to astrology and how these predictions can serve as a guide for personal growth.
All right, so we've covered the weekly overview and major themes of transformation and control and the impact on loves, relationships, career, finances, even mental and physical health.
Right. And we even touched on those big astrological events.
Yeah, Mercury retrograde,
It's Mercury retrograde.
the lunar eclipse in Virgo, and the new moon solar eclipse in Aries.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But Lorenzo's report goes even deeper,
It does.
breaking down how these specific planetary placements are influencing different areas of a Leo's life.
Right.
It's like he's giving us a blueprint of these cosmic energies at play.
A blueprint. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable how he doesn't just list these transits, but he actually connects them
Right.
to these houses in a Leo's chart
Mm-hmm.
and explains how they'll actually experience these energies.
So let's break it down house by house, planet by planet.
Okay.
Where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, Lorenzo starts with the sun.
Okay.
He points out that the sun is in Pisces, Leo's 8th house,
Mm-hmm.
until March 20th, and then it moves into Aries, their 9th house.
Okay, so reminder for our listeners, the 8th house is associated with transformation,
Right.
power, and shared resources, while the 9th house represents expansion, higher learning, and adventure.
Exactly. So this shift of the sun from the 8th to the 9th house suggests a major energetic shift for these Leos.
So in the first part of the month with the sun in Pisces, Leos might be dealing with some really intense emotions,
Yeah.
power dynamics, or maybe even some financial issues.
For sure, it's a time for that deep introspection, confronting their shadows, and really transforming from the inside out.
And then when the sun moves into Aries, their 9th house, it's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time for those Leos to really expand their horizons,
Yeah.
pursue their passions, and embrace those new adventures, whether that's through travel, education, or even spiritual exploration.
It's like they're moving from a period of really intense inner work to a phase of like outward expansion and exploration.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this transition is further emphasized by Venus retrograde,
Here we go again.
which Lorenzo points out is happening in Aries, their 9th house,
Mm-hmm.
from March 2nd to 27th, and then it moves back into Pisces, their 8th house, on March 28th.
So Venus retrograde, as we've discussed, is often associated with reevaluating our values in relationships.
Right?
And in Aries, the sign of action and independence, it could bring up issues related to how these Leos assert themselves in relationships.
Right. They might find themselves questioning their needs and desires or feeling a push to break free from those restrictive partnerships.
And then when Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, their 8th house,
Yeah.
those intense emotions and power dynamics we talked about earlier could resurface.
Exactly. It's like the universe is giving them a second chance to work through these issues and come to a deeper understanding of their own emotional patterns.
Okay, so the Sun and Venus are definitely spurring things up in those 8th and 9th houses.
Definitely.
What about these other planets?
So Lorenzo highlights Pluto in Aquarius, which is sitting in Leo's 7th house of partnerships throughout the month.
Pluto, the planet of transformation and power in the house of relationships.
I know, right?
Sounds pretty intense.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Lorenzo suggests that this transit could bring about some major shifts in the way Leos approach their partnerships. They might even find themselves questioning traditional relationship structures.
Oh, wow.
Or feeling this need for more freedom and autonomy.
So it's not necessarily about breakups,
Right.
but about redefining like what a healthy, fulfilling partnership looks like for them.
Exactly. It's about letting go of those outdated relationship patterns and creating something that's more authentic and empowering.
Okay, what else have we got?
Lilith is another key player.
Okay, Lilith.
Lorenzo points out that Lilith is in Libra's 3rd house until March 28th, and then it moves into Scorpio, their 4th house.
Lilith, the dark feminine archetype, often associated with rebellion and challenging the status quo.
Right.
What does her transit through these houses mean for these Leos?
Well, in Libra, the sign of harmony and balance, Lilith in that 3rd house could bring up some issues related to communication and self-expression.
Oh, interesting.
Leos might find themselves speaking their truth more boldly, even if it ruffles some feathers.
Like finding their voice and asserting their individuality.
Exactly. And then when Lilith moves into Scorpio, their 4th house, things could get even more intense.
Oh.
The 4th house represents our home, our family, and our emotional foundations.
Right.
And Scorpio is a sign associated with deep emotions and hidden truths.
So it's a time for these Leos to confront any unresolved emotional issues or even family dynamics that have been holding them back.
Right. It's about getting to the root of their emotional patterns and creating a more secure and authentic sense of self.
Wow, March is really shaping up to be a month of deep inner work and transformation for these Leos.
Yeah, really.
But what about the more practical aspects of life,
Yeah.
like career and finances?
Lorenzo addresses those areas as well.
Okay, good.
He mentions Uranus in Taurus, which is transiting Leo's 10th house of career and public image.
Uranus, the planet of sudden change and innovation.
Right.
That sounds like it could bring some pretty unexpected twists and turns in their professional lives.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This transit could bring about sudden job changes, unexpected opportunities.
Wow.
Or even just this desire to break free from those traditional career paths. Leos might feel this strong urge to express their individuality and really pursue their passions, even if it means taking risks.
So it's a time for them to be open to new possibilities and embrace that change in their careers.
Exactly.
Okay, and speaking of expansion,
Yes.
Lorenzo also mentions Jupiter in Gemini, which is transiting Leo's 11th house of friends, groups, and social networks.
Right. Jupiter, the planet of luck and abundance in the house of social connections.
Yeah, that sounds promising.
It is.
Yeah.
this transit suggests that Leos could experience a real surge in their social life.
Okay.
Meeting new people, expanding those networks, and really finding support from those like-minded individuals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a time for them to connect with their community and pursue their goals in a very collaborative way.
So it's a good time to like join a new group,
Mm-hmm.
attend those social events, or simply just reconnect with old friends.
Absolutely. And finally, Lorenzo mentions Mars in Cancer,
Oh, boy.
which is transiting Leo's 12th house of spirituality,
Right.
solitude, and that subconscious mind.
Mars, the planet of action and energy in the house of introspection and retreat.
I know.
It seems like kind of a conflicting combination.
It can be.
Yeah.
This transit suggests that Leos might feel a pull between their desire to take action and their need for that quiet time and reflection.
Right. So they need to find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They might be a little more sensitive emotionally and need to really prioritize that self-care.
Okay, so it's important for them to listen to their intuition and find that balance between asserting themselves in the world
Right.
and nurturing their inner world.
Exactly. And Lorenzo also notes that Neptune and Saturn are both in Pisces, Leo's 8th house.
Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, and Saturn, the planet of structure and discipline, both in the house of transformation and shared resources.
Right. This combination can be pretty complex.
Yeah.
On one hand, Neptune in Pisces can really enhance their intuition and spiritual awareness,
Okay,
while Saturn in Pisces can bring a sense of responsibility and this need for boundaries.
so it's a time for those Leos to trust their gut feelings, but also to be practical
Mm-hmm.
and grounded in their approach to finances,
Right.
relationships, and really any other areas where they're sharing resources or power with others.
Exactly. And, remember, with Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, there's also a theme of spiritual growth and healing.
Right.
Leos may find themselves exploring their spiritual beliefs more deeply,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with their intuition and really learning to surrender to that higher power.
So it's a time for them to let go of control, trust that process, and embrace the transformative power of surrender.
Exactly.
So there you have it, a deep dive into Lorenzo's unfiltered astrological forecast for Leos in March 2025.
Phew, we did it.
We did it. It's intense, it's specific,
It's a
and it
month.
definitely leaves you with something to think about.
I think so. It's definitely a month that invites Leos to step into their power, embrace their authenticity, and create a life that truly aligns with their soul's purpose.
And if you're not a Leo, don't worry.
Right.
We'll be exploring the March 2025 horoscopes for other signs in future deep dives.
Absolutely. So be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out.
And as always, we would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
What resonated with you from Lorenzo's report?
Right.
What are your hopes and fears for March 2025?
Good question.
Yeah, drop a comment below and let's continue the conversation.
Yeah, let's keep talking about this.
Until next time, stay curious.
Yeah.
Stay open-minded
Keep exploring.
and keep exploring those mysteries of the universe.
Because even in the midst of chaos, there's always beauty and magic to be found. And sometimes it takes a little astrological guidance to help us see it.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.